Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Chelsea Bussemeyer, and this is Workshop Wednesday. Thanks for joining me today in my workshop. And today I'm going to share this pillowcase life hack with you. And what is a life hack? Well, I would say a life hack is something that makes your life better or easier, something that you never want to live without, never want to go back to the old way of doing it. And I've discovered something with pillowcases that I never want to live without ever again. So a few months ago, I shared this trick with my fitting fashion students. I was actually just sharing what I was up to in my sewing room, and I said I was making these pillowcases and I decided to put in an invisible zipper rather than fold over the top edge and do kind of like a thick seam or a thick wide hem is what you typically see on like bed pillows. And I was like, I'm just going to put in this invisible zipper. The idea came to me because with my duvet covers, if you've seen my how to make a duvet cover video, I'll pop the link in the description below if you want to catch that. I really don't like when duvets are coming out of their duvet covers. And the same thing happens with pillows. Not as bad depending on how stiff your pillow is, but I have like this really soft moldable pillow and it's always like coming out of the case. So long story short, I put in this zipper and I love having my pillowcases close up so that the pillow is trapped on the inside until I want to take it off. So if you're competent with zippers, you might just want to run and install some zippers in your pillowcases now. But if you'd like to see how I did it and why I chose an invisible zipper rather than a different video, keep following along. So here's one of those pillowcases that I made. Really, to make a pillowcase, all you need to know is the dimensions of the pillow you're wanting to cover, and then hem one end open and close up the other three sides. But on this particular case, you can see here, I just installed the invisible zipper. Now, I chose the invisible zipper, one, because the teeth are on the inside. So I didn't want it to be scratchy, especially on a pillowcase. And two, the teeth are very fine. So both the teeth and the zipper pull actually are pretty fine compared to a lot of other zippers. So this is a zipper that it does its job, but it's not heavier than it needs to be. So that lets it just stay soft and moldable and not be intrusive on our pillow experience. So that's really why I chose the invisible zipper. Now here I installed the zipper really the traditional method of just having the ends of the fabric flipped around and it looking simply like a seam where it's attached. I loved these pillowcases so much that I went back to my other pillowcases that came with the sheets, and I simply installed an invisible zipper here as well. Now, because this side was already hemmed, you can see the wider stitching here of the reinforced opening on the hem. I simply laid that folded edge, finished edge, underneath my zipper and attached the zipper so that it stuck off just a little bit. I wanted to see how this compares to the edges simply meeting up, and I do quite like this as well, simply because it really covers up that zipper, and those two folded edges just really close things off nicely. I wanted to just give you the option of looking at the two different types depending on if you're wanting to make new pillowcases or you have pre-existing ones and you want to try out this hack. So these sheets I've had for a while as well, and every time I switch out my sheets, I'm just like, the fact that they don't have zippers totally annoys me. So today I'm putting zippers in these pillows cases, and I thought, why don't I share it with you and show you how I go about installing a zipper here. If you were starting from scratch, I would install the zipper first. So I'd take both halves of my pillowcase and I'd attach it to the zipper before I closed up the seams around the outside to make the case. But since these pillowcases are already made, I'm going to show you how I went about installing the zipper here, and it's so quick and easy. We'll open up this invisible zipper since they need to be open when you install them, and I'm just going to line up the teeth here so that I'm seeing just a touch of fabric overhang. So typically when we're installing an invisible zipper, we would need to install it the other way around. So we would have the teeth on the inside, and then we'd stitch it to the fabric, and when we flip that seam allowance in, the teeth would be sticking out and could close up. But because this edge is already finished, I don't need to do that, and I don't want the pillowcase to get stiffer or shorter here on the end. So I'm just gonna line up my teeth right with the edge, my zipper stop just slightly away from where the seam goes at the top, just to give the zipper pull a little bit of space, and flip up my teeth and get it in my zipper foot. So the invisible zipper foot has these little grooves in it to hold the teeth out of the way while the sewing machine is stitching it. Back stitch at the bottom, and let's take a look. Here you go. So you can see the stitching on the outside with this method of installing the zipper. However, as I mentioned, I really liked having this little flap covering the teeth and just joining everything together. So if you're not really on board with me here, then of course you can go ahead and install that invisible zipper so that it simply looks like a seam in the traditional method. But this is looking really nice to me all the way along. So what we're going to do here is I like to do the second half of my invisible zipper starting from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to close up the zipper slightly, mark the end, get out my trusty purple marker here. So this is important so that your zipper end is nice and square. So regardless of the type of zipper you're installing in whatever it is that you're putting it into, it's important that each half of the zipper is lined up and that it's nice and square. It's much easier if you are doing a zipper installation where the teeth can be closed while you're doing it, but here for the invisible zipper, we need that unzipped so that we can fold those teeth up and stitch where we want to stitch. But when we have our marking here, we can make sure that that marking is lined up with the other side, and then we know that when we attach the zipper to the fabric right here, that it's going to be lined up. There's really nothing worse than finishing a zipper installation after you put a lot of time and effort into sewing something and having a pucker at the bottom of your zipper because the sides are just offset from each other in how they attach. So having that really square end is important. I'm gonna zip down this side and then we'll see how it looks. Back stitching here at the top as well. I'm also going to flip my zipper ends on the inside, and then I'm just going to stitch over them. Going to come out from that groove. Just stitch those down so they're nice and securely fastened on the inside. Let's get the zipper closed up and see how it looks. Just going to pull the little zipper pull through, turning our corner at the bottom and closing it up right to the top. There we go. Nicely finished, nice and secure. As I mentioned, I just love how soft invisible zippers are, so that we're not adding any extra bulk or any reason for this zipper installation to be uncomfortable. And that's it really. So there you have it, my life hack. I'd love to hear some tips. If you have a little something that you've picked up along the way for your sewing room, or maybe just life in general, pop a comment below. Some little hack that you never want to live without again. And of course, you can also pop over to my Facebook group, Sew with Chelsea, share your life hack with us there, or your sewing hack. And as always, I wish you a lot of happy sewing, and we'll see you again next week on Workshop Wednesday.